In this video, we're going to take a look at two courses offered by Needham High School's Visual Arts Department for that third year. The Advanced Placement Studio Art, or AP Art, course, and Art 3 Accelerated. If you have any questions about these two courses, even after looking at the presentation, there are two places that you can go to. One is our NHS Art 3 website, as well as the AP Central course and website that you can go and take a look at, see the course in detail. These will also be included at the end of the slideshow as well. So students have several choices for fine art after Art 2 honors. Two of the most popular are Advanced Placement Studio Art, or AP Art, and Art 3 Accelerated. We, of course, also have a bunch of other great electives from the department, but for the purpose of this video, we're really going to be focusing on specifically AP Art and Art 3 Accelerated. Before we get going, there are 2 or 3 myths that we really should dispel about that third year of art and those sequence courses. You have to be recommended. Nope, if you want to do it, you just sign up for it. There's really no formal process of recommending students for it. It's really about whether or not they want to push themselves. You have to be a really good realistic drawer. That's another myth. Not really. See, the thing is that art making comes in many forms. While it's an admirable skill to be able to draw realistically very well, that is not the only indication of someone being a good artist. Right now in our AP classes, we have students working, yes, in realistic drawing, but we also have more students working in expressive drawing, collage, mixed media, cardboard, photography, and even some sculpture. AP Art is not a real AP with an exam. Oh, yes, it is. It is an actual AP class with a real exam. The only difference is our exam is a portfolio of original artworks that you submit digitally, and some pieces physically that are scored according to a really comprehensive rubric. So many students will wonder, well, what's the difference specifically between AP Studio Art and Art 3 Accelerated? But they do have similarities and differences. So let's take a look at some of the similarities first. Both are a full year and have to have Art 2 honors as their prereq. Both of them allow the student to create a really strong portfolio that they can use for college admission the following year. And that's not just for students who are studying art, but students who are going to be going on to study something else besides art. Most of our students put their portfolio in their college admissions materials because they want to make themselves stand out in the admissions process. Things like being able to show a portfolio of art, which really highlights your tenacity, your goal setting, is really important to that process. The courses both use the same grading system and rubric and adhere to the same work standards. So, in other words, if you're doing a piece for AP Art and it's being scored with our grading sheet, if you turn in the work for Accelerated, it's still that same grading sheet that we're using to assess it. And lastly, if you would like to take Senior Studios, you do need to take either AP Studio Art or Accelerated. The differences between AP Art and Art 3 Accelerated really come down to 2 things: credit and pace. AP Art students will earn AP credit from Needham High School, and because they're submitting that exam, they will also be trying to earn college credit through the College Board organization, okay? Now, because it is an AP exam, the pace is pretty fast. You're going to be doing 15 pieces of artwork throughout the year. So there's times where it's going to become really stressful, and you're even going to have a few weeks where you're going to have to produce 1 work per week. On the other hand, accelerated students, instead of doing 15, will really complete more like 9 or 10 sustained investigation pieces. And so they have a little bit more time in between. This is really important for students who are kind of considering, well, I'd like to take maybe another AP class, like an AP language course, or I'm really interested in taking AP US history. Now, many of our students have done that before, but for some, they don't really want to have that stress of having all of those due dates happening all at once. So for many of them, they decide that accelerated might be a better pace for them because they can still create all of this great artwork just with a lot less stress, okay? Art 3 Accelerated does not submit to the College Board, however, so they do not potentially earn college credit. There is a way, however, if students are interested in accelerated and earning college credit, they do have to make the decision, usually around in November, that they're going to just do a couple of extra pieces. At that point, many of them decide, well, I might as well switch my class to AP, which is a very doable thing. And we always usually have at least 1 or 2 students in accelerated every year that will stay in accelerated, but they will submit to the College Board. The last thing to mention is in AP, there are 3 portfolios: drawing, 2D, and 3D. And all your work must fit into these portfolio requirements that you choose. In accelerated, you have a little bit less restrictions, right? So the types of works you can do, you can jump a little bit more fluidly between 2D and 3D. So what's the structure of it like? I'm going to go through this quickly because it's quite a long, involved explanation, but I'll do my best to try to kind of walk you through it in like about 3 or 4 minutes. Art 2 is not like Art 3, right? Art 3 is not like Art 2. They're 2 very different levels. You have honors, you have AP, and you have accelerated, right? So there is going to be a step up from Art 2 when you decide to take either accelerated or AP. However, the research that you're required to do for assignments in Art 2 prepare you for AP and accelerated, as well as push you to come up with ideas based on your own interpretation of prompts and themes. Now, this is important because of how the exam and the work is supposed to be structured. Art 3 is centered around inquiry and investigation, okay? And when I say Art 3, I'm really talking about both classes. Students begin the year by exploring how to experiment and how to explore themes and diving deep into what they want to make work about, why they want to make it, and how they envision executing it. They come up with something called an essential or guided question. These are open-ended questions or statements that can be explored through different lenses, taking students down different paths and allowing them to question more. It's not a right or wrong answer question, but rather it's a question that might even lead to more questions, right? And it's the type of question that you can sort of sit around with a group of other people and have a pretty big discussion about. Now, that's important to note because throughout the year, when you're making those 15 pieces for AP, all of those pieces are really going to be you trying to answer that essential or guided question, right? So again, there's no right or wrong answer to it, but it is you trying to explore that topic and you explore what you've sort of written down. So those pieces, as well as the 5 selected pieces of your best quality work for the year, actually make up that portfolio you submit as your exam. At the same time that you are making this work that's going back to this guided question and really exploring it and really doing that sort of deep dive into inquiry, you're also recording your process and your progress diligently, okay? Now, process and progress are 2 very different things, and you learn about the difference in AP and accelerated. Everything that you do is going to be photographed. And your final pieces photographed, edited, and formatted, and then uploaded to an AP digital submission website for your exam. You also have to provide short statements about your materials that you used in order to make it and how they relate to your idea, as well as your processes. Now, because everybody is coming up with their own question, the Art 3 experience is very individualized. You're going to be starting from the very beginning to work with your teacher, really one-on-one, to create a plan for yourself. And then you're going to meet and communicate with them all year to create your work. For me and Ms. Burke at the moment, we are basically meeting with our AP and accelerated students every single week for about 15 to 20 minutes. During those meetings, they're showing us their work for the week. They're having questions about, how things are going. They're showing us inspiration. We're giving them ideas. It's a collaboration between the two of us and our students. So it's really important that you are open to that level of kind of communication and wanting to work with your teacher and work with other students as well. Everyone in class is going to be doing something very different. I've included some examples of what students are doing as guided questions here, and they range from how does environment instill feelings within the beholder to how would a child's imagination impact how they view the world. Big difference, right? And we've got things like people rendering things in CAD programs to acrylic portraits to watercolor paintings and, graphic novels to photography. I mean, there's a lot of things happening right now. It's almost like it's more of an open studio where everyone is kind of doing their own thing, but everyone is still speaking to each other and really being supportive and encouraging of each other's work and process. I've included this slide in here because this gives you a little bit of an idea of what a submission would look like. So this would be an example of an individual piece that a student would put in for a submission. They would upload this single image onto the website and then also include their height, width, materials, and processes for it. Those little statements right there, that is what's called the written evidence. Now, you may notice that it's not just one image here, however, even though it's like one JPEG. That warm painting in red and oranges right there is the student's final work. But just as important as showing that is also showing their inspirations and their references, like in the photographs that you see onto the side, and then also their progress that you see in that lower left-hand corner, okay? The reason why it's important to include this and not just always having your final piece is because a big part of the scoring for the AP exam in digital art is showing evidence of your process, your progress, your experimentation, and your revision. Okay, it's actually a big part of your exam. So students have to get used to actually documenting everything, doing all that research, and then being able to also include it in at least some of their submissions out of the 15. Now, Art 3 Accelerated students don't use the AP Digital Submission website because they're not actually submitting to the College Board. However, they still do create a comprehensive slide portfolio that documents their entire year in growth. They too have to write statements and are required to show evidence of their progress and process. It may not be uploaded to another site, but it is created with high professional standards. So this is an example of one student this year. She's in this slide showing some of her inspiration and some of the artists that she's looking to for research. Louis Jauvert. And then you can see, looking at the work here, this is their work that they're working on for their guided question, which is really talking about historical figures and their impact on society. As we're getting closer to the end of this, I know you might have a lot of questions. Again, you can look at our website that will be able to help you sort of answer some of those. There's actually a very comprehensive, FAQ on there. But to answer one question that I know some students will have about the essential question is, how does your work change? Is it okay if your essential question changes because your work starts to change? I've included in here a video done by our student, Aiden Keene. Aiden is currently a senior in Senior Studios, and he very graciously put this together so students and parents can actually get sort of a feel for what the whole process is like. He walks you through the process of making his work and then talks about how much his essential question and his pieces morphed over the year. So it's actually quite okay if your essential question changes. The most important thing is that as you're having it change, you're still able to kind of show that you are connecting your work with what you're thinking about for that question. On a last note, if you're choosing between AP Art and another AP class, or if you're wondering what you will get out of AP Art, this is something really important I want you to pay attention to. AP Studio Art is not like other AP courses. Okay. In other AP courses, you're doing the content, you're doing the exam, and the score in the exam shows how much you took out of the content. I hope that for all of you, no matter what AP class you're taking, it's going to be a really great experience for you. And for many of you, you might even find something that you are really, truly passionate about that you might even make a career out of. But in AP Art, it's less about the score. And it's really more about the experience of realizing how incredible your potential is and pushing yourself to reach heights that you never thought you might be capable of before. For most people, it's a really transformative experience. Usually around, let's say, end of March, beginning of April, I really always hear so many of the AP students start to say to each other, you know what, I don't even care about the score anymore. This is what I'm really, really meant to do. And I really want to see this through. And I'm so excited that it's like I finally made this breakthrough, or I'm really excited about this next piece, or, I can't wait to be done with this because I've got such a good idea for the next one. These are things that we love to hear because it's really not about, again, the score. I mean, yeah, everybody wants to do well on it, but you have to understand the more passionate that you are, the more invested you are, more than likely you're going to get a really good score because you are dedicated and you're really pushing yourself. So that's something that's really important to note, that it becomes less about doing sort of the grudge work and all that hard work that is going to eventually pay off. It starts to feel like it's really an outlet of you and sort of your voice, taking part in the world and sort of being out there. And that's something that's really special that a lot of people can't say they've experienced when they were in high school. Again, if you need more info, right, we have listed here the NHS Art 3 website. There's a ton of stuff on there, and it's a lot about registration and all of sort of the really logistical stuff that you need to know about Advanced Placement Studio Art and Accelerated, okay? To be fair, there's more stuff about AP just because with all the registration and all the restrictions and all the requirements and rules, there is a lot more to know. In addition, you can also go to the AP Central website, right, to get more information about the exam, okay? You can just put in AP Central College Board, right, or even just Google AP Central and it will take you to the main site. Now, if you've gotten a little bit of more information on the two courses, you have to be asking yourself, do I really want to do this? What do I want to spend my time on my next year? Okay. It is hard. I mean, we're going to be very honest about it, but I want to leave you with this. This was a quote that one of our seniors gave us a couple of years ago. And this is a woman that went on to not even study art. She's actually an engineer at this point. Okay. But she wrote, "It was through taking classes in the art department that I realized that I was a smart person. It wasn't about the grade on a test, but my ideas, the way I looked at things, how I solved problems, that was what made me understand that I was intelligent. I didn't get that same experience anywhere else at school." Now, that's pretty profound. And I know that for some of you, it might not be fully that experience, but I can promise you, most students who take AP Art, while it is incredibly hard to do, and at times they're going to feel really stressed about it, and they might even be angry at themselves for taking it, at the end, when they're submitting it on that day, there are tears in their eyes, but they're ones because of joy. It's because they're so happy and they're so incredibly proud that they did something that so many other people won't ever be able to say that they did at the high school level. The work that comes out of all of you is amazing. And every year we're blown away by how great you guys have done. So if you're really looking for something to kind of challenge yourself and really be a transformative experience, I really suggest taking either accelerated or AP next year. It's a big decision, one that I would want all of you to talk over with your families and to really be thinking about what else you're going to take in your schedule for next year. But consider it. It is a great course where students become really close to one another and they learn an incredible amount, not just about making artwork, but about themselves. And I think, honestly, that's the main reason why I would encourage anyone to take it. Because, yes, you might not study art at the college level after you take AP Art, but you are going to remember some of the life lessons and some of the things that you learned about yourself during that whole process.